Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Profit Roadmap. It's been a minute, but as always, we're your hosts, Ryan and Bekah, and this is the premier podcast created for field service pros to help you grow your business, stay on top of the latest trends, and help you provide even more value to the communities that you serve. So today, we're actually super excited to welcome Jack Nagy, president of MTA 360, which is a leading marketing, training, and advertising agency specialized in field service companies. Jack is here to share with us some powerful strategies for service industries to better leverage marketing and grow their companies via that avenue. So, Jack, welcome to the Profit Roadmap. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, Jack, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background, and about MTA 360.
Okay, great. So I grew up in the HVAC business, actually the plumbing business first. My father started as a plumbing contractor, then evolved into HVAC, mainly on large commercial and applied. But through my background, I've been at all three levels, that of a dealer, large mechanical, distributor, my last 14 years with a major manufacturer. So I understand, the distribution channel extremely well. MTA, this is our 20th year in business, 20-year anniversary.
Congrats.
And thank you. I'm not sure where the time went, but anyway.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, and, we really kind of specialize in two things. And there's a lot behind those two things. But realistically, I've always said, and I've said this for decades, it starts with generating a lead, make the phone ring. How you do that has evolved. So years ago, yellow pages, newspaper, now all of a sudden, it's the internet. Not saying that's the end all be all, but, we could chat a little bit about that. And then how do you close the sale? What does that look like? And certainly if you look at the tragic year of COVID, which most companies in a lot of cases, or a lot of companies did very well with, and then what has happened in 21 and 22, 23, where we are today, every year has been dramatically different in different ways with things that we can and can't control. So hopefully we'll be able to get into that. But MTA is known for our technology. We drive the largest quantity of leads by SEO, and that becomes this probably overused acronym because everybody says they do it. But in any case, hopefully we can, get into that a little bit more as well.
Absolutely. So you mentioned that there've been a lot of changes since COVID 2020. What are some of the things that you guys have seen that are kind of the biggest things that are different pre and post COVID, especially now here in 2024?
Right. Well, putting weather to the side because we can't control it. And obviously demand, no matter what kind of advertising you're using, demand drives business or opportunities, especially in HVAC and not as much in plumbing and electrical, but, seasonality has a role. So, we've seen the changes in not just, dealers look at or companies in general, because this is not specific to HVAC. Companies look at what they used to pay, what they pay today.
Right.
Is it more difficult because of that cost to sell that product or service? And the answer is definitely yes. So the question is, have we gotten better in our sales process? What does our sales process look like? And, we can, again, define that. We look at sales process. And I always say, if you're going to try to sell someone something, it starts with the why. Why would they be interested in that product or service? And very often we still see, a big focus on features. People don't buy features, they buy benefits. So it's really important to evaluate your sales process and ask yourself, am I starting with the benefit, not the feature? Okay, so in the HVAC industry, you have single stage, two-stage unloading scrolls, inverters, and heaven knows if I'm a homeowner, I don't even know what an unloading scroll or an inverter means. Why am I even bringing it up? And before I even do that, my question is, do I explain why a homeowner should consider that, or any other service? Doesn't matter what it is. Another area that has changed dramatically, because we work with a lot of dealers, a lot of contractors. So again, not specific to HVAC. And what we hear with clients when I ask about conversion, so the phone rings, are you converting those calls into lead opportunities? And the most common response I get is the people that answer the phone have been with me for years. They are really good. They know what they're doing. But here's the question you have to ask yourself. Is the consumer and their mindset and their thought process and what they were willing to say, oh, that's what you charge to come out? No big deal. Well, maybe today it is a big deal because people are, budget-wise, budget can be stretched a little bit more. So it's not just a matter of, and sure, training of your CSRs is vitally important, but understanding the dialogue and how that has changed could be vital to your success, because that phone call is an opportunity, is a potential lead, which is obviously a potential revenue. And if you're not converting at a high enough level, then that's the starting point, the phone ringing.
So how does a business go about understanding the dialogue and how it's changed with the consumer?
Okay, well, the good news is, see, and that's the thing, everything evolves. And AI, which is still, I know it's going to change the world, everyone says. So we're looking at our world. Okay. So for years, we've suggested to clients to listen to their phone calls. Mm-hmm. Now, I got to tell you, they're busy, right? Especially the smaller to medium-sized business owner who's out in the field and he's doing, they're doing estimates and such. They don't listen to their phone calls. We can record them. They don't listen to them. So now we have AI technology that does it for them. And it simply says, okay, the call came in, going to listen to the call. And what is that call about? Is it a solicitation? Oh, you're not going to convert that. That's like a 1-star. But how about somebody who really wants you, ask the question, what do you charge to come out? Oh, we charge X. I think I'll get back to you. But that's a 5-star opportunity. So the AI has the ability now to listen, summarize, rate the calls. So all the client needs to do is say, well, let me start with the 5 stars. I got 87 5-star calls. How many of them converted into a lead? Oh, only 40 converted into a lead. Why not a higher percentage? And they could, review the transcript, which is a short little blurb. But that's how, technology is helping us be more efficient, and the belief that they're going to, everyone's going to listen to calls, not so much. But that's what we do for our clients. We suggest inspect what you expect.
I like that.
That's awesome. So is that a really common thing that comes up with a lot of your clients with kind of really digging down and like finding that lead conversion?
It's a big part of it. It really is. So we'll say it's the beginning of the process. Like, what does that funnel look like? And, what happens when you get in the house? We look at things like, we look at average service ticket. What is that? And it's going to vary by industry. Pest control company in some parts of the country, it's a much lower ticket than an HVAC company or lawn maintenance or whatever. So we look at that, and we also want to look at, it's not just like, okay, we do service or we do installation or we do, so we try to look holistically at the whole model. Like we do that with internet marketing as well. And, we look at it as not just, it's not just the website, it's not just SEO, it's a lot of other factors. So the first thing that I suggest everyone does, no matter what you're going to do, is ground yourself. Where am I today? That's not to make someone feel bad, but if you're going to drive from point A to point B and you don't know where you're starting from in point A, I'm not sure you're going to do a great job ever getting to point B. And if you get there, it's going to be a lot of wrong turns.
Yeah. Left turn at Albuquerque, as Bugs Bunny always said. Yeah. What are some of the other mistakes that you see that a lot of field service pros are making when it comes to marketing and their strategy?
Obviously, budget plays a role in whatever we do. And there is this, I believe, misconception that if my budget is smaller, then I can't compete. And that's not true. If your budget is smaller and you say you want to, own all of Tampa, as an example, then that's not the right strategy, because there's too many people, geographically too large. But how about if you look at owning neighborhoods within, this goes back to Ron Smith a million years ago, with dominant market share, right? So maybe I'm showing my age, but the reality of it is it's about developing a strategy. And what I see is it's so easy to spend money, right? We could spend money. You could spend money on advertising. What do you get for that? Like, what's my ROI? What am I getting? What is my expectation from what I'm doing? So, it tends to be someone like, okay, I'm going to build a house. Now, I could build 1,000 square foot house, a 10,000. Okay, but here's the thing. Take a step back. It starts with, I'm going to dig a hole, I'm going to excavate. I'm going to put in footings, stem walls, and at some point I pour a slab. Whether it has a basement or not, I have a slab. And then from there, I could go vertical. So I can assure you, if I'm building a house, the roof shingles are not showing up day one. What am I going to do with that? And this is what we see all too often. Oh, it's going to be billboards, or it's going to be radio, it's going to be this, and how many commercials do I get, and how many spots do I get? Wait a second, none of that is bad. Just ask yourself, where is that in the house that you are building? That's the question. Where am I? Do I have a foundation? I could tell you that, AdWords is not bad as long as you understand the expectation of it. I can't tell you over the decades how many dealers, how many clients have said to me, okay, I want a brand. I want a brand. And I say to them, well, let's have a conversation what that really means. Let's look at the market you're in. Let's look at the media we're going in. Let's look at what you're going to spend. And I guarantee you that 9 out of 10 of them within 3 months said to me, where are the leads? See, service businesses want leads. There's nothing wrong with branding. It's fine. Maybe it's the second floor. Okay. Yeah. And there's different ways to brand. So let's get a foundation. Let's get our processes in place. Simple things like teaching your service personnel, your installers, to ask for reviews. They are vitally important. If they're not going to do it, use a software to help you get reviews. Reviews on GBP, which everyone calls Google Maps, okay, is about 15 to 20% of the ranking. It's a big deal. Okay,
it's huge.
Right. Under the maps, it's probably 5 or 6% of the equation. But reviews are important. And people have this misconception. I know I'm kind of in marketing here for a second. People have, because everything's intertwined, everything's interconnected. Right. So if you want a successful business, I need to generate my lead and then have a great sales process, right? So the people are under the impression, clients are under the impression, well, it's just about getting as many reviews as I can get. And, the stars rating is important. Google doesn't care about the star rating. They're not looking at your star rating, okay? They're looking at quantity of reviews, and they're looking at consistency, and they're looking at, are you answering them? Then why do I care about the star rating? Because people don't buy 3-star product on Amazon, do they? So if you're coming up with 2 or 3 other companies, if you have the lowest star rating, I don't care how many reviews you have. And I will tell you, companies, and we work with some very large new construction companies that also do add-on replacement, as an example. But companies that do new construction are more challenged with reviews because sometimes they take the hit for, we'll say, the builder not doing exactly what the homeowner wanted. So
I love that analogy of the house. So that's a great way to frame it.
too.
So that being said, when you're like, is there from a marketing perspective at least, is there like one thing that is that slab, that foundation that like needs to be built first? Is I think it's the website, or like what is that number one thing
well,
that you start with?
see, that's a great question, and I'm going to tell you there is no number one thing.
Okay. I kind of figured that's where this would go.
That's an awesome question. All right. So I guess if somebody would say I'm pushing back a little bit here, but okay, it's not the number one. Okay. So yes, the website is important. Okay. It is very important. And, we're unique. We build from scratch and, stay away from themes and templates, but okay, put that to the side for a second. You need a website. So if I did equate it to an air conditioning system, now I have the outdoor condensing unit. Okay, good. I don't have air conditioning with just that. So I need an indoor product. I need a furnace or an air handler, and I need an indoor coil, evaporator coil. I need a line set. So I need other things. So the way we look at it is a great website, okay? Search engine optimization, which can be done in various ways, right? Building backlinks, which is something that most clients have never heard of. And this is not specific to HVAC. You could say, well, if I do lawn care, I don't have an outdoor coil. That's not really, it's irrelevant. What's relevant is you need a website, you need great SEO, you need backlinks, and I will tell you, you need ongoing. Our average client, we're building 10 pages of content a month for. Yeah. And you could say, oh, for the consumer, yeah, it's there. They can see it, but no, it's for that other little guy that I mentioned earlier today called Google. So those are the four components that we see as being vital, because everything is interconnected. And simply just saying, okay, I have a great website, but it's not optimized. It's kind of like I have a Ferrari. Oh my God, it's gorgeous, but it's not tuned up properly. All right. And by the way, I'm not sure how to drive a stick. I can't drive it. So like there's more than just one piece. But yeah, you could say it starts with the website, but you need more than that.
What kind of content? You mentioned that as well, like the quality of the content or just content period?
It's a combination of all. No, the content not only has to be quality oriented, mm-hmm. It also you have to have an intent of what to do with the content. So what is the intent? What are we focusing it on? Is it an outlying town? Is it a neighborhood within a large town? Again, if you own the neighborhoods, you own the town, right? So right. Google understands that. They understand neighborhoods, they understand towns, they also understand services. And we do a lot of R&D, so we could understand what they like and what they don't like, and things. Sometimes, and there's nothing black and white with Google other than they know how to make money, and I give them kudos for that. So you could say, well, I'm going to do exactly the same thing for two different clients, and you see different results. But the content definitely needs to be, and at this point, 100% of the content that we are writing is by a human being. We've tested AI, and we're doing a lot of testing with AI. A full-time person does nothing but AI, model building and such. We are testing, and I don't really have anything beyond that at this point other than we're trying to learn.
Still need that human touch.
Beautiful. I'm glad you brought up AI, like yourself, because it comes up in every single one of our episodes. It's a hot topic item around here. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, no problem. See the thing with it's the buzzword, right?
Yep.
And sometimes people want to use those buzzwords, so people they hear AI and like, oh, okay. So AI is as good as the model you create with it. The gentleman I hired, I'm sure, has forgotten more about AI than I know, so I'm not going to pretend. But I'm smart enough to know to hire smart, brilliant people. My CTO's genius, and he's probably forgotten more about SEO than I know, even though I could hold my own. But surround yourself with smart people, and it's very beneficial.
MTA 360, you guys specialize in field service businesses. How are the marketing needs of service businesses different from other types of businesses?
Well, service businesses, for the most part, are judging you by, did my phone ring today, right? That's what they're looking at. They want leads. And depending on the industry, again, that's starting off by do a proper website evaluation, and not one done by what I call PhD software, which is push here dummy. I'm not knocking the software, but it's built to a fixed criteria. So maybe it sounds like I'm knocking that type of software, but we tried building it. $150,000 later, we were not successful because it's built to a single criteria. Maybe with AI, that changes down the road. So, service companies, and this is what you have to take a look at. I know a lot of service companies that are really good at doing service. And the question you have to ask yourself, look, we work with companies. I'm thinking of a company I've been working with for over 20 years. And the owner had said to me, or previous owner, I should say, when my service techs sell, when they start selling products, it's the day I sell my company. And 5 years later, his service department was outselling his sales department, being done honestly and ethically and bringing all the parts back. And he won the BBB Ethics Award multiple times. So it can be done, because that's a concern at times by service companies. Like, I don't want to pay commission and things like that. So you really need to evaluate. What's really interesting is when we do training with service techs, we ask the managers and owners to leave the room. Please leave. And we ask the question, okay, knowing what you know, the money's coming out of your pocket now. So it doesn't matter what the product is. Okay, it doesn't matter. You're going to pay what a customer pays. What would you buy and install? What would you, and a lot of them, what's interesting is they tell you products and brands that the company doesn't even offer. Well, wait a second. You want them to represent your company. You're selling X, and they're telling the homeowner Y is best.
Wow.
And then the salesperson comes in who, doesn't have the rapport that the service tech, they're the hero. The salesperson, oh no, you're the bad guy because you're going to try to sell me something. So I'm on my guard already, right? That's why service techs can outsell sales, comfort advisors or salespeople. But that's a choice by the company. So that's what I'm saying. Like, what is your model? Okay, so what are you doing when you get in the home? So after we arrive at what the service department thinks they should sell, okay, then we ask them, or do it either way, and ask them the benefits that they feel they want from the product that they're gonna pay for. And do you know, when you take the low end product, okay, the product that it's all about price, and compare it to their list, because they're very knowledgeable. It doesn't matter what the industry is. They're knowledgeable. You could ask electricians. They have their feel about what generators they prefer, HVAC companies, what brand. So it's not, ask a plumbing company, what brand of fixtures in China do you think is best? And they're not shy to tell you, and the installers know. So when we compare and ask them what are the benefits that they're not features, but what are the benefits that they expect from these products, they never match the low end product. And the light bulb goes off, and it's eye-opening to them. And guess what? They get on board. When I say get on board, you cannot, believe me, I grew up as a service tech. Probably as stubborn as any other service tech. My mindset is get there, fix it, move on to the next call, especially when it's cold and hot. How many more calls do I have today? Yeah. So it's again, this is part of the process of understanding who your people are, and and training accordingly.
Yeah, I love that. That is a
Me
really
too.
cool thing to do. And having the managers or like the leaders like exit the room so you really get that like honest raw feedback is that's killer. I love
I
that.
love that. Listen to the people who have that rapport with your customers on day to day.
Hmm.
Like, listen to the people who know what your customers want. And you've mentioned this before about not just selling the product or the features, but what are the benefits? Like, know the issue and, like, I guess selling it in a different way. Is that what kind of what you're saying there?
Sure, because people buy benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when we get hung up on the components within a product, could you imagine looking at your smartphone and saying, "Boy, I'm really excited about the inner workings of my smartphone." Yeah,
Right.
like what do you know besides do an update, right? All of us.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not,
True.
or we look at an air conditioning system, air conditioning unit. So, manufacturers at times can be very proud of their components. Who cares?
Yeah.
You know what happens when you mention components to a homeowner? Like bring up compressor to a homeowner. First thing they hear is, yeah, it cost me $3,000 to replace it. Like, why are you
Yeah.
doing that to them?
Right.
So if you want to sell, speak English.
Right.
Drop
Yes.
words that don't mean anything to them. What's an unloading scroll?
I have no
What's
idea.
an
Couldn't tell you.
ECM
I'm checked out
motor?
already.
Right. What's an
Just
inverter?
kidding.
How about replacing it with basic English? How about an inverter's variable capacity? Okay. And so is an unloading scroll. It just doesn't have as many stages of capacity. So equate it to things that people can relate to. And all
Yes.
too often, we want to show like, oh, we're the, we're so smart. We know all these things. And, let's get into, let me tell you about the algorithms of the Wi-Fi thermostat. Like, where are we going with this? And it just confuses people. And service techs can do that unintentionally because they know what they know. Every company that everyone's different. Everyone's different. It's not one size fits all. And the belief to go in there and just say, here is the process, I don't believe that's the right thing to do. The first thing you need to do is understand what they're presently doing. Do we always have to reinvent the wheel? Or can we just help the wheel roll a little bit smoother? Same thing with their marketing. Understand what they're doing, understand what works, and then understand, how could you help them expand their business? Well, if they're doing one industry, maybe there's an opportunity to add on a couple of others. Keep something in mind. When you're doing one industry and you've been known for this industry for many years, and Google has seen you in this industry only, when you add on another industry, tread lightly, be smart, and don't be disappointed if you're adding on a second or third industry and it's not doing as well as the first industry. Don't be so strong that you are actually, don't be so strong that you actually hurt the industry that you're most powerful in. Again, strategy is so key in being successful.
Jack, this has already been super insightful, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, anytime. Listen, I'm passionate. I'm the kind of guy you wake me up 3 a.m. I talk to you about variable airflow. I love what I do, but I don't care. I've had the opportunity to consult on some of the largest custom homes in the country with some really cool people, or well-known people. We could do without the names, but if I mention them, everybody, oh wow, that's not the point. So I understand building envelope and such, and to me, all I want to do is help people grow their business.
Yeah. Like, for those that want to own the whole state of Texas, like, start small, start where you are, start local, build your foundation, and then grow. So it's doable.
It is doable, but like I said, know where you are today, ground yourself today. You want to own the state of Texas? The least expensive way to own it is with SEO, search engine optimization, hands down. But what is the strategy to do that? Oh, you mean I need locations like 30 miles apart so I can own 15-mile radius? Exactly. So, we see this all the time. A company will tell a business owner, we'll capture the state of, we'll capture Connecticut with one location with SEO. Yeah, like Rogaine will make my hair grow back. It isn't happening. I gave up on that a long time ago. I mean, come on. So, be honest. And when you're honest with people, then you don't have to remember who you lied to.
On the subject of owning a state or just like a large area in general, let's say that we have a business owner and they're in like a hyper competitive space where there's a ton of other business owners and whatnot. I'll keep using HVAC as an example. Like here in Fort Myers, Florida, if I go to the grocery store 2 miles away, I'll probably see like 3 or 4 different HVAC company trucks, right?
Right.
And you're up in Tampa, like you probably get it. It's probably even more up there. So if I have my company and I'm a little smaller, what can I do to compete with larger competitors online through things like SEO or content marketing?
Okay. Again, first we're going to need to understand where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
What is your authority? What does your backlink profile look like? Domain authority is a pretty good indicator.
Mm-hmm.
Backlinks are really focusing on real simple. Google cares about popularity and trust, and that's a way to build it faster than any other way with backlinks. I won't go any further than that. But we will look at budget, but mainly we're going to look at where you are today. Okay, so every town that you go after, that you're in, is a race and should be looked at as its own race. So how much horsepower, domain authority is like horsepower. So how much horsepower am I starting with? And of course, we'll build it over time. But where am I today? So a strategy that can be, at times is less is more. Don't be greedy. So just start off, when you look at, let's say you have a business and you look at 5 miles from your location, you go, well, that's not really far. But then you look at, you have no rankings, you have no visibility. So if that was created within 5 or even 10 miles from your location, you'd be like, wow. Now, if a client, and we work with some, small, medium, and some very large, clients, again, where am I today? So you can set the right strategy. But SEO, typically 15, 20 miles is about typically as far as it will go with SEO with a single location. And that's just a solid strategy. You could always add on. That's the best way to look at it, right? You can always add on. But when you get greedy, you have to say, where does Google see me today? Whether we like to, say it that or not, where does Google see me today? All right. And if they don't really see me the way they need to, then definitely use that less is more. And also, it lends to a lower budget. So, you may have somebody who says, well, I want to air condition my whole house. And you do a load, or you say, okay, it takes 5 tons. And you give them a price. And they're like, oh my God, this is crazy. Well, maybe the better way to look at it initially is you put a ductless in the master suite. Now they're cool when they sleep and such. So that's the thing. There's no such thing as one size fits all in SEO, even though we see this a lot. So let's go. Well, again, we're gonna go and we don't even know where we are. So it's just, we believe the due diligence pays dividends, but everyone can do better. The question is, where are you today and what should that expectation be? In some areas, AdWords, $200, $300, $400 a lead. Does that make it bad? No. As long as the client understands the cost per lead and their budget can support it. And if it's going to take 5 to 10 clicks to get a lead. So, sharing information with people to help them make smart decisions is the best thing that I think you could do, whether that's with a homeowner for any home improvement service, or with the business direct. But, again, I don't want to keep being redundant about ground yourself and know where you are today. But you need to understand where the starting line is.
You've brought it up a couple times. I know you said you didn't want to go into it, but if you had to explain it to me like I was like a 5-year-old, right? Could you tell us a little bit about what backlinks actually are for anybody that
Sure.
might not be? I'm also not sure what they are, so I figured I'd ask.
Yeah, no problem. So this goes back to two things that really haven't, popularity and trust with Google haven't really, it's not new to them. It's just everything has evolved. Some people would say prior to 2011, when Google went into their semantic universe of being able to communicate like we are here today, they had the understanding of a 1-year-old child. And people are like always shocked to hear that. Well, come on, it was Google. Well, who are you comparing it to? Okay.
Right.
And today we could say, well, they're in college, they have a PhD. I mean, they're smart. Okay. So if we took two human beings, and I said, okay, I want to evaluate who's more popular. And person number one had 50 friends. And person number two had 2,000. I would say, who's more popular? And you say, come on, Jack, 2,000 versus 50. That's a no-brainer. There's no smoke and mirrors, just simple. Okay? Person number two is way more popular. Then I turn around and I say, who is more trustworthy? Oh, okay. Because just because you're popular doesn't mean your friends are trustworthy. So we're going to run a background check on 50 and then 2,000. And 45 out of 50 passed the background check. That's 10% did not. We're going to run a background check on 2,000. Okay? 1,800 passed the background check. Well, 200 did not. But take a step back. What about on a percentage basis? They're equal. So because you have so many more friends, but percentage-wise, 10%, 10%. So if I said, who's more popular and who's more trustworthy, you would say, well, they're equally trustworthy. They both have 10% that failed the background, and person number two has 1,800 versus 45. Convert that to websites. Other websites can create endorsements and what's called a backlink. So we use them all the time. We click on something and it takes us somewhere else. That's a link. And that can be done a couple different ways, but it could be done one way as an endorsement. Okay, it could actually be an endorsement. So backlinks, in fact, and I'll just full disclosure, WhiteSpark, which is a very reputable agency, says they publish. So it's out there. Publish that backlinks are, in their opinion, 31% of Google's ranking factor. That's what they say.
Whoa.
We feel they're extremely strong and powerful. Mm-hmm. So you have the website, you have what we call NAP, name, address, phone number, which is directory listings. You have reviews. So they publish a pie chart. I love their pie chart. It aligns with what we see very close. But backlinks, if they are 30% of Google's ranking factor, that's a pretty, when you look at, Google is looking at, hundreds of items, and you got one item there that's 30%, it needs to be, I can tell you that we wouldn't, our clients, which is what's important to me, wouldn't be where they are without the backlinks that we create for them. They're super important.
Awesome. That clears it up a lot.
Yeah, thank you for breaking that down.
Yeah, it's simple. And that's what I'm saying. You keep it simple. We use, if we're working with a solar company, we use a house with a solar system, and you can't just have panels, right? What are you going to do with them? Like, where's my inverter? Where's my wire? Where's my, where are the things I need to have a full solar system? So, it doesn't matter, even if we're talking lawn care, it's not just cutting the grass, right? Don't you have to do other things? Trim and prune and fertilize. And so it's really, that's the way we look at driving success. And, we've spent years of doing R&D, and we just don't take a segment or an industry, I should say, because SEO is not universal in the way you do the technical setup, in our opinion, of title tags and H1s and other things. So it's specific to that industry, and our software really helps that a lot too. So, but I say all the time, listen, it's nice to have beautiful vehicles and wraps and all this other stuff. Again, what does it go back to? make the phone ring, generate a lead, have a great sales process. Start with your sales process, because when you generate a lot of leads and you know how to close them, then you could do whatever you want. You could have the fanciest vehicles in town because now you have revenue.
I love that. I was going to ask, what are the indicators to know you're ready to scale a business? But I guess, like you said, there are many factors, and with time, I guess when your budget, I'm sure will ultimately tell you.
Yeah, and you can see the results, what you're getting, how your leads are coming. We had one client last year, true story. He grew $9 million in 1 year. He bought the business 3 years ago, and this year his sales will be double from when he bought the business. And I will tell you this: he would give us a lot of credit, but I give him a lot of credit because that gentleman knows how to run a business. He knows what to look for. He knows how to train, and he does whatever it takes to make that, ethically and honestly, of course, whatever it takes to make that business successful, including driving a truck from different parts of the country back to Florida. Wow. Because he found people that had equipment available, and he goes, I never want to tell a customer I can't get you the equipment you need. So he goes above and beyond. I'm not saying, that kind of growth is typical, but, clients growing, you can grow in any environment. So as far as knowing, when to go to the next level, we always share that with the client. Like, okay. And some will say, I'm good, where I'm at. And others will say, I want to grow at least 20%. And that's something we do as an industry that or businesses do that I don't get. We look at last year and we say we're going to grow 20%. That's a beautiful number. Okay, but what's the plan to grow? What are we doing to grow 20%? Where does it come from? And, we do that all too often because, listen, the year of COVID, putting the tragedy to the side because it's horrible, home improvement companies, most did very, very well. Okay. And then in 21, they still were doing well. 22, but 23, and attending the Hardy meeting, the overall mindset wasn't, it's not doom and gloom. But I got to tell you, 2023 was not the year we expected.
Right.
Okay. And, you can get more in depth. Why did you expect more and what changed, and all that. But, and we're looking at 24. Again, we can't control the weather. Demand has a way of curing a lot of things. Mm-hmm. 23, the weather wasn't great in most parts of the country. But if everything stays equal, we see 24 being similar to 23. And that is concerning to some.
So do you think that sort of the expectations and everything around 2023, we're just now into 2024, and the realities therein, do you think that's from the world sort of tapering off of COVID? Obviously, we got weather. We had Hurricane Ian recently. I think we were probably both impacted by that. But weather aside, as you'd said, do you sort of think it's just that the world is sort of shifting more back towards normalcy, so we're not quite seeing that boom, we're tapering off? What do you think that is?
I think the increase in equipment, in all home improvement verticals, I don't care, plumbing, electrical, it doesn't matter, HVAC, the cost of equipment, the change in the consumer, cost of goods in a lot of areas has gone up to people. They're not as, the average person tends to be holding back a little bit more on what they're spending. Okay, so there's more of a fix or repair mindset. But what I haven't seen evolve in most cases is the sales process. It's not evolving. And if people think about who we are as human beings in general. We think in pictures. We're visual people.
Right.
Okay. And we like to tell stories. Heck, I'm telling stories today. It's fun. So is your presentation to the consumer visual? Are you telling a story? Is it understandable? Is it benefits? Or are you using a process that is pulling information from the internet, that's pulling the horsepower of the motor, that it's an ECM motor, or so think about the difference between a proposal and a sales process. Are they the same? And just think about, and what I tell our clients all the time, I ask them, do you do role play? Most don't. Okay. Why don't you have your salespeople present to the ladies in your office? And like, why the ladies in my office? You know why? Because when you present to women, they give you better feedback. When we do training classes and we'll have 25 people in a class and we're doing role play and somebody presents and I'm there, you let them get through it. And of course you don't want them to feel bad, but it's easy to tell, like, this person's really not presenting very well. And you go around the room, and I only hope that I have a lady in the class, because you go around, all the men typically are saying, oh, he did great, he did awesome. And I'm saying to myself, honestly, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but honestly, they're not doing it. He didn't do it well. And you get to a lady, and they're polite and they're diplomatic, but they give you good feedback. And then if you ask, well, would you buy from this person? They'll go, no. And here's the other thing it does. It allows the people in your office to understand who you are. What are the consumer specials? What do you sell? What do you service? It educates the people in your office, because you know what? I don't care what position you have in a company. You are in sales. I don't care if you are the bookkeeper. You are in sales. Every company, when I was with a manufacturer, 6 months after I was there, the executive VP went up to the warehouse manager he was visiting. And he says, oh, you're doing a great job. And you really do a really good job in managing the warehouse. And he was a great gentleman. And he said to Lewis, he looked at him and goes, well, Lewis, I just want to let you know, I'm in sales. I'm not the warehouse manager. And I couldn't believe it. It was just because it was an environment that was created, just like we created MTA, that sales/support, they're synonymous. But everyone has to understand the lifeblood, and it's okay to say this, the lifeblood of a sales-driven organization is sales, right? You're a sales-driven organization.
It makes a lot of sense,
What are we talking
Jack.
about? Right? It says what you, right? It says, so you perform service, you do installs, whatever you do. Sales is your lifeblood. It is okay. You do it honestly, ethically. You do a great job. You get great reviews. Why shouldn't you be compensated?
I like it. But I like that breakdown too, with projection wise with 2023 compared to where we're projecting 2024 to be. Because we're seeing that in the field service too, with lawn care, landscaping. You're seeing it all around in the service industry, and everything you said, along with election year, people are saying inflation rates, all kind of factors are playing into what we're seeing. So it's kind of like, where are we meeting the consumer with where they are right now? Are we understanding?
Right.
And are we pivoting our sales?
You want to retain your customers that you have by giving exceptional service, and you want to be in front of and visible to new customers. There's business out there for everybody.
Right.
But, it's a small percentage who are as visible as they probably would like to be, but it is totally doable. So, if a $1 million company grows 20%, they grew 200,000, they're probably happy. Mm-hmm. A $10 million company grows 20%, that's $2 million. So it's all relative. So don't worry about, clients all too often worry about what they can't control. Don't worry about the other guy. Be aware of them. Okay, but focus on your own business. What do you have to do to be more successful? I'd like to say this is like solving creating world peace. And I wish we could do that. I really do. But it's not that. It's really not that difficult. And it's being, we've used some, a real quick note, we've used some well-known professional athletes as endorsements over the years, okay? And I always like to ask them, like, what is the number one thing that made you successful? And you expect to hear the passion and the drive. And and all these things, which is true. But the number one answer is somebody, and they all say it a little differently. But you know what's great? I think Keith Brookins said it best. He said, "I'm the most teachable human being on earth." So he's an all-pro linebacker for Atlanta, right? So he's like, right, and I'm like that too. Somebody could tell me something that's going to help me. Please don't hold back. Let me know what that is.
That's beautiful. So this maybe the last question, but
Okay.
We were talking about how sort of 2023, 2024 have been not quite up to expectations and stuff. Floating around in the news and stuff, I've heard like sort of the times we're in now be compared back to like the recession of 2008. Do you think there are lessons or strategies and stuff that were implemented back then that we could maybe take lesson from for the times ahead?
Personally, I don't think it's. I think that's a difficult comparison, at least in my mind.
Okay.
I wrote an article about a year ago, talked about the perfect storm. Is it going to be a beautiful ending, or where are we going to be? And it, when you look at, of course, the uncontrollable weather, but we mentioned inflation, economy, cost of equipment, and such. So these are things we can't control. But you can control being more visible. You can control generating more leads. You can control having your service department sell. You can control going into other industries. There's a lot you can control. And I just think 2008 was more of like, we are just in a recession. But here's the thing. MTA, we grew in 2008. We fortunately, I'm thankful, very thankful. We've grown every year. And you know what that means? No, it didn't mean MTA grew. It mean our clients grew. Okay, so we have clients been with us over 10 years. It's unheard of for a digital company. So I'm a little challenged to compare it because we didn't have the cost of equipment, and now we're going to another refrigerant, going to 454 and doing things like that. Mm-hmm. I guess if we try, we could try to find some commonalities, but overall, I don't see it. I see 2024 being similar to 2023, and I know companies that were flat, and I shared with you a company that grew $9 million, which realistically they grew 50+%. So. But that's the way. So sorry if that's not exactly what you were hoping that
no,
I say.
That's great. It's an optimistic outlook, and I feel like we don't get enough of those. Yeah. So I very much appreciate it.
Yeah. No, I think 2024 can be a very good year. And then after that, I think obviously, what happens, especially in people's minds, how they see things, but. I still think the home improvement business is a phenomenal business, even with all the challenges that at times you face. But I think growing is something that, what our clients expect to do.
Well, Jack, thank you so much for jumping on here. Like I said, that's going to be about all the time that we've got for today. But I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. Bekah, you want to close us out?
Yeah, absolutely. I like ending on a high note here.
For sure.
Jack, again, like Ryan said, thank you for joining us on being a guest on the Profit Roadmap podcast with us today. If people want to learn more about you and MTA 360, where can they find you?
They can go to our website, which is mta360.com. Or they can reach out to me at Jack N, as in Nagy, at mta360.com.
And thank you all for listening to the Profit Roadmap podcast. And remember, you can listen to this show on all major streaming platforms, including Apple, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Be sure to visit our show notes at serviceautopilot.com/podcast to get the links to all topics we covered in today's show. If you've got questions, guest recommendations, or you want to hang out with Ryan and I on the show, email us at profitroadmap@exploretechnologies.com. That's spelled XPLOR. If you enjoyed today's show, please tell a friend.